I've always been a Marvel Comics guy. The characters, stories, and even the action figures appealed to me more growing up than anything DC Comics had to offer outside of Batman. The Marvel video games, however, especially in the fighting genre, left something to be desired. While Marvel produced memorable fighting games based on crossover events, such as Marvel vs. Capcom, DC Comics will eventually find its fighting games being handled by NetherRealm Studios, the minds behind the Mortal Kombat franchise. NetherRealm's first real attempt at creating a fantastic DC fighting game found great success both critically and financially with Injustice: Gods Among Us. It would take almost 4 years after the series' first iteration that a sequel would arrive, with a focus on improving what worked, get rid of the redundant, and innovate where other developers have failed when implementing loot drops. I enjoyed my time with Injustice, but something always felt off about the game, especially coming back to it following the release of Mortal Kombat X. My hope wasn't just to experience a fantastic fighting game, but one that would also give me the unbridled joy of Mortal Kombat X, and even some of the fighting games that I thought were excellent as a kid. Unlike the days of its forefathers in the genre, and more in line with its recent predecessors like Injustice and Mortal Kombat X, Injustice 2 features a variety of modes, but only one has a true completion rating: Story Mode. Picking up where Injustice: Gods Among Us left off, the player is given the opportunity to test out a variety of characters in this alternate universe in the DC world, featuring a story that has become synonymous with the quality of NetherRealm games over the last 2 generations. The mode lasts about a third less than the previous game's version, but features 2 endings and multiple moments where the player must choose to pick one of 2 characters, allowing the player to go back courtesy of the chapter select to play with the not chosen character. Story mode is a perfect starting point for players looking to test the depths of their potential skills with a variety of the fighters available while unlocking one character made to believe initially is stuck behind an actual paywall. For offline players, Injustice 2 features the Multiverse, which is a more profound version of the Living Towers from Mortal Kombat X, where the player can take on AI opponents in a variety of fights that can range from anything such as normal one-on-one battles to a fight where poisonous missiles or death rays intermediately shoot from the sky. These multiverses change on an hourly, daily, and weekly basis, giving the player something different almost every time they play. For those who are up to the task, Injustice 2 gives a player the option of fighting against others online. Instead of just having simple one-on-one battles, Injustice 2 allows the player to start their own rooms, lobbies, participate in King of the Hill mode, where the player must defeat the reigning champion and defend his or her throne as long as the player can, and even join a guild to battle tough-as-nails AI competition alongside players from around the world. Thanks to the various achievements and trophies attached to Injustice 2, completing the game becomes a lot easier thanks to a checklist that asks the player to try out everything and everyone. Though the time to complete everything, including leveling up every character to the max level of 20, is just time consuming. With the majority of the trophies completed in under 20 hours, my main focus became, and still is, leveling up the characters. Something that will probably take another 15 to 20 hours while completing multiverse events, collecting gear and abilities, and continuously playing online. As expected, Injustice 2 takes the foundation set in place by its predecessor and improves upon the gameplay and control scheme. The base attacks are centered around light, medium, heavy, and special strikes, with the latter usually being one-hit attacks that need to recharge after usage, such as Supergirl's eye laser, or Scarecrow's ability to produce acidic, health-draining smoke from his body. With the directional pad or analog stick, players can pull off special maneuvers as expected from any fighting game that can be the beginning or end of combo strings that will juggle opponents when the strikes are mixed with maneuvers like Bane's simple opponent lifting stomp, turning into a pro wrestling influenced series of moves, including a super elbow drop. Gameplay elements that really helped Injustice stand out are back again, including environmental interactives that can range from anything like a throwable crocodile or a springboard to move out of the corner depending on the size of the character. The bigger the character, the more probable each interactive will be used as a weapon rather than a defensive mechanism. The environmental weapons can be blocked to stop spammers who loved going crazy with them in Injustice 1. There are arena transitions again, where opponents can knock each other through walls to deliver massive damage while laughing at the ridiculous journey from one area to another to continue the battle. Of course, the super-powered special maneuvers return courtesy of the super meter, where the player can tap the right trigger to use one segment of a 4-bar meter that grows with each attack and hit to fire off a powered-up version of a regular special attack. Going back to Bane, a player can meter burn his running attack into the aforementioned elbow drop, or pop up an enemy into his Zangief-style spinning pile driver. Super moves, Injustice's answer to the X-ray attacks from the previous 2 Mortal Kombat games, are back in their ridiculous glory. A super move is rather easily blocked, but can deal massive damage if it connects. The clash system is also improved from the original Injustice. By hitting the right trigger and pressing forward when being hit with a combo, the player can create a breaker moment where the opponents must bet a bar or bars of their super meter to regain health if the clash initiator wins the bet, or deal more damage if the opponent wagers more bars. Though every character has the same base from a control scheme perspective, all the 28 initial fighters feel completely different, even if they are easily initially categorized by strength, speed, and reach. The mini tutorials can give the player a glimpse into how each character plays, but it isn't until the player puts in the effort that one will potentially discover the depths of greatness each character possesses. The biggest addition to Injustice 2 is the gear system. When initially announced, the gear system appeared to be a pay-to-win microtransaction addition to a game that didn't need it. Thankfully, the implementation of gears, character-specific cosmetic accessories, are done incredibly well as the player gains mother boxes that can hold anything from common, rare, or epic equipment that boosts a character's health, defense, strength, or abilities, to shaders, different color schemes for each character. Mother boxes can be bought with in-game credits that are earned by actually playing the game. The only true microtransactions are for aesthetic purposes solely. The gear system is actually addictive once an inventory starts building up, and thanks to the level limits on each piece, a character must be at a certain level to wear certain gear, such as being level 20 to wear level 20 gear. It convinces the player to spend more time with some of the other characters the player doesn't focus on if the player wants better gear for that character. Gear can also be physically modified by using source crystals, the currency mainly used for costume and shader purchases, to mix the looks of other gear while retaining the same stats, or even regenerate it with regen coins to potentially get better attributes with a figurative roll of the dice. Regen coins are also only earned through gameplay and mother boxes. The only real flaw about the gear system is its implementation online in player matches. Ranked matches online have no gear buffs, though the look of the equipped gear is still allowed. In player matches, anything goes, and it's up to the players to decide whether or not the gear is allowed. There will be many instances when a player encounters another rocking a level 20 max gear with exceptional defense and strength who refuses to turn off the stat buffs when facing a level 2 Harley Quinn. No matter the skill level, the weaker character will lose 9 times out of 10 because of how much it takes to whittle down the opponent's health and how much damage the opponent will produce. It's disappointing the gear system is automatically set on in online play instead of the other way around. Mode offerings are plentiful to say the least in Injustice 2. Offline, there's the aforementioned story mode that will take up to at least 5 to 6 hours to complete, the obvious local one-on-one option, the tutorials for each character, and even a tournament mode. There are pseudo-offline modes that the player can fight solely AI characters, including the multiverse mode, and its sub-mode Battle Simulator, the game's answer to arcade mode, where the players can attain character-specific endings not associated with story mode. An AI battle simulator where the player can create a 3-person team bomb squad controlled by the AI to face 3 other characters put together by online players so they can battle in matches that will earn the players everything you'd expect from a regular fight, including mother boxes if the player wins or loses. The mother box quality, of course, varies depending on the outcome. Interestingly enough, the players can use their AI settings to send characters into the multiverse to fight and level up while the gamer goes and does something else. When it comes to the offline offerings in all the recent NetherRealm games, nothing comes close to the insanity of multiverse, and it could be almost a game by itself. From an online perspective, Injustice 2 has been a much smoother ride than Mortal Kombat X when trying to find fights and actually stay connected in a mostly lag-free environment. Connection and netcode qualities are definitely more improved in comparison to how online play was following Mortal Kombat X's initial release. Player quality will definitely vary, but most players, no matter the skill level, will do well as long as they know the basics and some of the more forgotten techniques, like meter roll, to avoid being juggled in the corner. If there's one disappointment when it comes to the online mode offerings, it's the lack of team battle. Instead of taking a page from Mortal Kombat X and this game's own AI battle simulator by allowing 6 players to team up in trios battles with the winning team pulling off a best of 3. It isn't even offered here. While Team Battle wasn't the most popular mode in Mortal Kombat X, the fact that Injustice 2 put in an offline variation but couldn't provide an online version is somewhat disappointing. There are also guilds that allow players to come together, gain group trophies, mother boxes, level up characters, and fight AI boss battles that make Shao Kahn look like a baby holding candy ready to steal. Injustice 1 had a great foundation, but it's just incredible how much better this entry is compared to not only its predecessor, but also all of the NetherRealm games from the past 2 generations, thanks to a fantastic battle system, character options, the gear system not being built on the act of microtransactions, and modes aplenty. There is so much fun to be had with Injustice 2 for fighting game aficionados and novices alike. Since 2011, NetherRealm Studios has been working incredibly hard to perfect its form of what a fighting game could be, with each offering following the 2011 version of Mortal Kombat. Injustice 2 might be the closest NetherRealm has come to accomplishing its goal of creating a game that perfectly caters to both casual and hardcore, offline and online gamers alike. The combat is improved compared to both Injustice and Mortal Kombat X. The mode offerings are incredibly robust, though online is a little barer compared to Mortal Kombat X. And the gear system that initially had me worried is implemented in a way that it mostly doesn't hinder the entire experience. Injustice 2 definitely set the mark high for NetherRealm Studios whenever the inevitable Injustice 3 and even the next Mortal Kombat are released. If you've enjoyed any of the recent NetherRealm Studios games, Injustice 2 is perfect for you. For you non-fighting gamers who just want to see how cool it would be to see Batman wear out Superman, then you'll probably enjoy this too. It's really hard not to recommend Injustice 2, unless you want to wait and get the inevitable ultimate or complete version, featuring all the DLC characters that is sure to drop by early next year, just like its predecessors.
Harley Quinn wins.